Hello and welcome back to KSP POV, where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. In today's episode, we are finally doing it, everybody. We are going to put a Kerbal into space. And what that also means is that because we are no longer needing to use the probe control room, we're going to have a different IVA to look at as we do it. We're going to be using the Starlex, which changes around the Mach-1 command pod. Makes it a lot more analog, a lot more switches and gauges to look at. So that will fit with our theme of kind of doing our technology in a chronological kind of order. So I'm very excited to show this, and this is, I think, is going to be a pretty fun episode. So here we are, starting off at the KFC as always, and we're going to go ahead and check on our missions and see if we have anything that we can accomplish while bringing a Kerbal to orbit. But I don't have anything relevant. We do have the established stable orbit, but that is for a probe only, so we're not going to be able to achieve that with a crewed capsule. So let's go ahead and look through here. Climate study is interesting. I might pick some of those up later with for planes. I go ahead and grab this test part contract because we just have to test it on the launch pad, so that's just easy money at that point. But alas, we didn't find anything, and so we're going to stop by the R&D building to unlock the node that will give us the Mach-1 command pod, so we can send a Kerbal up into space and back with little to no danger. Let's go ahead and get that started. We are going to put a probe core on it regardless, because I do want to have access to the probe control room if need be. And so also that will allow us to have prograde and retrograde hold. So we're going to start off with just the basics: heat shield, parachutes. We are going to do some science along the way. So we're going to extend that out. And this is going to carry all of our science experiments plus some batteries, reaction wheel, that sort of thing. And we're putting all this on the bottom of it because we will be able to collect all those experiments and store them in the capsule. The Science Junior is a little bit harder to do that with, so basically if anything decides that it wants to burn off, we're going to go with what we can afford to lose first. So I'm putting this on mirrored symmetry, so there's going to be 2 of each experiment in this little container. I'm removing them from their symmetry, so I can set them up to different action groups. We have that little piece that I put on the top of the command pod that is from M.A.C.H orbital science. So we're just going to be getting a little extra science from each of those experiments. Here I am putting each of the experiments on their own action group, and the Science Junior is going to be on 2 action groups, even though we will not be able to run it twice. Doing crew reports, doing telemetry reports, everything that we can get. Some of these experiments we've already done with a probe in low Kerbal orbit, but so some of it is useless science. We don't necessarily need to put it on there, but might as well have everything that we can use. We're going to try to get both low space and high space with this. We need some cameras so we can see what's going on outside. We don't necessarily need these radiators that I put on there, but I do like to have a little extra heat management when it comes to a crewed vessel. And there we go. That should be more than enough to get us out of orbit. That little Terrier engine with 1 little tank of fuel. I don't plan on using too much of that to circularize, so gonna extend the center tank just a little bit, and then we just copied it for the side boosters. There we go. We'll put some fuel tank or fuel lines in between them, so we can transfer the fuel, do a little asparagus staging. We're going to put some parachutes on all those lower pieces to, in an attempt to rescue them and save some of the funds from this craft. This is named Jeb's Escape Pod, and you know, my little mindset of it is that he, Bill, and Bob are building this unbeknownst to Gene Kerman and Werner Kerman, and so they're going to just take this out on their own journey because all the Kerbals are getting antsy and they want to go to space. They're tired of seeing all these probes take their glory. There we go. Make sure our staging is correct. Make sure the correct parachutes are on the correct stages, so we don't stage our top parachute too soon or bottom parachutes too late. Made sure to check the Starlex IVA pod and went ahead and simulated, and it was a great simulation. We did want a little extra thrust upon takeoff, so as you see here, we have some SRBs attached to the bottom stage. It was just too slow of a takeoff. It was above 1. The thrust to weight ratio was above 1, but not by very much. And here you see I actually had more than enough fuel that I needed, and so I ended up taking away the Terrier engine and replace it and just putting just attaching the fuel tank to the lower stage. And we're going to put some solar panels on this. We don't need the solar panels to come back with us, so we're just going to put it on that lower piece. And the camera wasn't at a very good angle, so we're going to kind of adjust it here. And by putting it here, this way hopefully we'll be able to see the discarded stages to know that they are indeed gone. And I adjusted the solar panels, so that way hopefully we'll be able to see those in the camera as well. And we're just going to finish up with some small little touches, things that I thought about during the test flight. And having simulations is a great thing. So we go ahead and make sure that Jeb is the one in the command seat, give it another once over, and get ready to launch. So here we are, almost evening time. It's quitting time for everybody. Gene Kerman finishes his cup of coffee, looks over his equations, feels pretty good, and then gets ready to head out for the day. He's going to go clock out, when suddenly he realizes that there's a name up on the control board, and Gus and I don't know who that guy is, but they're both checking their screens. So Gene runs quickly, well, as quickly as he can, back to his control panel, only to see that Jeb has been up to no good, and he is about to launch from our launch pad. So we're going to go ahead and get all of our switches on that tell us information about whether or not we're tumbling, or we're facing high G's, or we're about to crash land. Turn on our comms radio. We're going to go ahead and fire our stage, and there's liftoff. Doesn't even wait for the countdown. Jeb is just up to here with being told to sit on the sidelines. He wants to go to space. So we're reaching about 100 meters per second, so we're going to tilt slightly over to the east. You can see from our DP AI ball that we're tipping away. Our prograde was actually tipping to the west a little bit, so I had to fight that a little bit. Here we are, mission control. We have communications with Jeb. Everything's looking good. Monitoring his progress. And now we're tipping a little bit farther. We're passing through the cloud layer, as you can see in the monitor. This rocket was a little bit over-engineered. It has a little more power than it possibly needs, but we wanted to make sure that Jeb had a successful mission to and from space. So our SRB is almost running out, got 100 Delta V left. We tilt to our final angle, and then we jettison our SRBs. And as we see in the camera, they float down gracefully, and hopefully their parachutes will deploy, and we will be able to retrieve some of the funds from that. Gene gets up and walks around, looks over at Gus and asks him if he knew about this. Frustration, he throws the coffee pot to the floor. But he's a very weak Kerbal, so he doesn't have very much force with it. So back in the command pod, we are now reaching 17 kilometers above the surface, and our apoapsis is only gaining. We still have plenty of Delta V left, because our side boosters are about to go out, but then because of the fuel lines, we're going to refill our center stage and have a full tank of fuel at that point. Gravity turn is working out pretty well. You'd think that Jebediah has done this before. Maybe it just comes naturally to him. It's a little bit of heating effect on our stages. You can see in the video monitor over to the left. And as the side boosters run out of fuel, we go ahead and stage them off, and they have a nice clean separation. It's always good to see that your separated stages don't collide with your craft, potentially blow up parts of it. Our apoapsis is now in space, but I am going to raise it a little bit higher. I don't like circularizing right at the edge of space. I feel that it's a little risky sometimes, so it's worthwhile to just spend a little extra Delta V to get a little higher. You will then have to spend a little extra Delta V from there to circularize. You have to go a little bit faster, but it all works out. So we go ahead and stop it at 85 kilometers, and we're going to go ahead and drift upwards, time warp, or physics warp actually, through the atmosphere until we break into space. Let's make a maneuver. We're just going to use precise maneuver to circularize, and then we're going to extend out our orbit so we can reach high space as well. For some reason, my DPAI control wasn't working very well, so I switched back here to the control room to keep an eye on my maneuver and figure out when I need to burn. I don't have very much authority control over this, so I kick on the throttle to pitch my direction over. It raises my apoapsis a little bit, but that's okay. And we're just going to push out our trajectory a little bit more. And once we hit 70 kilometers, we are now in space. Our engine's a little bit more efficient in the vacuum. And we're just going to burn horizontally until we bring our periapsis out of the negative. Quite a long burn. This engine is meant for liftoff. It's meant for terrestrial, planetary launches. And I'm keeping this all unedited because this is a our first Kerbal in space mission, so I want to just kind of go through all of it. So we have some time before our apoapsis and decide to kill our throttle and get a little bit closer to that to be a little bit more efficient. And we are raising our thrust again. And we're just going to push it out. That number at the bottom, the one that just passed 9,500, that is the delta V remaining required for our maneuver. And that negative number up there at the top, the 392 one, is our periapsis. So just to give you an idea of what we're looking at when we're looking at that screen. And we're just going to kill our maneuver. And just kind of eyeball it from here. Still have plenty of delta V left remaining in our stage. We should have enough to complete this mission. And only 140, 130, 120 kilometers to go. And then once we start breaking into the positive realm, everything's going to start moving a lot quicker. So I kill my throttle and wait just a little bit more. Our apoapsis got pushed back even further, so we're just going to kind of zoom in a little bit closer to it. Of course, I try to make sure not to overshoot it. But we're just eyeballing these numbers here. But as you can see, we are now in the positives, and it will take no time at all. Definitely not 29 seconds. There we are. We are officially in orbit. We're going to keep burning to extend our apoapsis out. We want to make sure, like I mentioned before, we want to make sure that we can reach high space to get twice the amount of science. And at 250, we went ahead and killed the throttle. Our lights are off for some reason. I lock my stages because I want to make sure that I don't ruin this mission by accidentally pressing the space bar when I don't mean to. It happens. So I go in and did my science. I didn't get any science for some of the experiments, but I did get full science for some of the other ones, so that's good. We're going to go ahead and just hold everything. We're going to transmit the crew report and the telemetry report because those are better to reset that way. So I figure out which direction I'm heading, and then I place a maneuver node at the apoapsis to plot my return trajectory back. And I'd like to, if at all possible, land as close to the KSC as possible. So we're going to go ahead and time warp closer to the maneuver, which is also our apoapsis. And that should be able to give us high space science. I can't turn my lights on for some reason. I'm having difficulty with that, so I'm going to just allow probe control room allow command to adjust the engines appropriately and to select retrograde. I had to pause the game, save it, close the game, and come back during this time, and that's why I have the glitched out thing. But for some reason, heading back to the control room this time fixed it. And so I have lights on again, even though my light knob is turned off. So there we go. We got a lot more science for doing high space. We also had the Gore set, which is that D-Magic orbital science experiment. I'm gonna hop out of our seat for a little bit, get a little closer view of the globe. See if there's any way to get out of here, but unless there's not, I think we're gonna just have to bust our way through that window once we splash down. So I tried to EVA Jebediah to go collect the experiments, but we don't have the astronaut complex upgraded, so we can't EVA, unfortunately. So it's a very short burn to bring us back, so I go ahead and wait until just about the node, and then I fire until I have just 0.1 meters per second left, and that's looking like a pretty good. I kind of bring it in again, but I do forget that when I go to eject my lower stage, as I'm doing right here, pointing towards the planet, pointing away from the planet. What's going on? Why am I spinning so much? Oh, that's right, because I still had persistent rotation installed. I did eventually uninstall that, and I forgot that I still had it on during this time. So we're just going to be spinning until we hit the atmosphere. Oh, but as I was saying before, I did forget that when you jettison the lower stage, your weight changes, and of course the weight change makes a difference when coming back through the atmosphere. So there we are. The engine is slowly drifting away from us. Once again, we use the probe control room to point ourselves retrograde and to check to make sure that our parachutes are staged and our radiators are active. I'm going to take a quick second to look at stage recovery, and it's cool to see that 3 of those side boosters were recovered, the 2 main side boosters and 1 of the SRBs. I don't know what happened to the other SRB. It might have collided with something and either destroyed itself or broke its parachute. But still, 3 out of the 4 is not bad. That's good money there. So those gauges at the top are heat temperature gauges, and so we're going to try to keep an eye on that. We're also going to keep an eye on our camera to see when the heating effects start showing up, and then as well as our nav ball. Hop out on the exterior cameras. I do kind of like this view, and I feel that this can qualify for an first-person POV. Of course, got to get a thumbnail. Beautiful shot. Alright, so now we're back. We're going to watch. There's not really much we can do. We can spin, but that's about it. The rest of it is just up to chance, up to luck, and hopefully this craft has been designed well enough that it will be able to withstand the temperatures, and the parachute will activate in the right time, and it will return safely. We start the roll, but it's not a perfect roll. As you can see, it's more kind of a rocking back side to side, but in an attempt to kind of dissipate some of that heat, because those gauges are starting to go up, concerningly so. It's all we can do to just fight the spin, make sure that we don't start turning sideways at all. The Science Junior really likes exploding. it's really hard to keep those from not exploding once they start gaining heat, and that's the center stage between our capsule and our heat shield, so it's very important that we don't lose that. If we lose our heat shield and then our lower service bay, and then we lose our Science Junior, but we keep our capsule, then that's fine. You know, we will have lost all of the science, but we will have kept our Kerbal Jebediah alive, and that's important. Don't like having to hold funerals for our Kerbal knots. So our temperature is holding steady, just below the warning level. So can't really let out my breath yet. Our periapsis is in the negatives, and our apoapsis is below 40, so we are definitely coming down. No fear of having to make a second pass. And that's when the capsule starts spinning wildly out of control in every single direction, and I am really starting to fear. Calms down in what I can only hope is a retrograde position. But the heat starts to dissipate. And now it's just a matter of whether or not our parachutes can perform adequately. Ground proximity warning is going off. And it takes longer to get back to the command capsule than I would have liked. I was very worried that this freezing of the screen was indicating that we were about to hit the surface and explode, but thankfully not. Once again, getting pushed around by the aero forces, incredibly strong, and point me all sorts of different directions. Now we're getting close. If my parachute doesn't pop by the time that it's supposed to, we could EVA and hop out. No, we can't. We couldn't EVA. There's nothing we can do because we can't parachute out because we don't have an upgrade to the astronaut complex, and there's no time to go there now. Switch to the camera outside, but I can't see anything. And at 200 feet, 200 kilometers, 200 meters, our parachute shows indications that it is actually deployed as our speed dramatically dropped. You can see our surface speed is next to 0. I'm at 1 kilometer. Ground proximity warning going off. But as we switch back to the capsule, we got a glimpse of our parachute coming out. So we know that we are going to be able to safely touch down. And if so, this mission will be a success. Jeb can't get reprimanded for a successful mission. If anything went wrong, then he would definitely be put on probation, be grounded for who knows how long. But all I can say is congratulations on a successful spaceflight. And this is going to start a more crude version of our POV. We're going to be using the probe control room less, not in completely get rid of it. We are going to, once we start making better milestones and bigger missions, we are going to eventually upgrade our technology, and that includes the better control room as well. Those will be growing with the times. Real fast, I just want to point out, you can see our surface impact speed is drastically dropping and went to 0, and we have touchdown. Successful mission. Love it when a mission comes together. But yeah, this is we're going to be doing a lot more crewed vessels. We're going to do different capsules, different IVA views and stuff. We're going to be utilizing free IVA to move around the cabin. It's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it very much so. But anyways, this is where I'm going to leave today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more KSP POV. If you did, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys. What you talking about? All young men with suits and ties, just sitting in the crowd smoking big cigars. I hope you're ready for what's coming now. I'm the one, I'm the lady that will bring you down. There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the rivers, but they all never come for the booze and bass. I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place.
Okay, now, from the beginning. There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play, where the whiskey's running like the rivers, but they all never come for the booze and bass. I'm the one, I'm the lady that'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. That'll rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this place. Rock this Okay, now.
Are you ready?
There's a joint on the corner where the big boys play,